to you from rabbitholecentral.tv. I'm streaming here in Gramercy Park, which is right next to Union Square. You get off on the 23 subway, or 14th Street on the 6th train. So today what I want to do is continue on with the wrap-up session of Howard Stern's people commenting on the show that I did on the 19th. So let's carry on with that. Oops. Here we go.
Hey, that interview with Paula Gloria just really exemplified ignorance at its top. One thing that I seem to notice here is that Riley has a tendency to try to sell us on something despite the fact that we can't see it, where Paula is trying to sell us on something that we have already seen.
Right, but what she's telling us is that we haven't seen what we think we've seen.
Now, I think that's very well said. What Paula's trying to tell us is that we haven't seen what we think we saw. So again, we're going to be at the National Arts Club on the 23rd. That's 15 Gramercy Park South. And in a really nice, peaceful, dignified, quiet setting. Obviously, anyone who exerts themselves to come out, help the benefit for the Concordia Foundation, it's $50. You know, has, well, psychologists would say they've created cognitive dissonance. In other words, once they've paid the $50, they would be highly motivated to be pleased with their decision to have spent that money. However, if anybody doesn't have that money and they're very earnest, even if they're very much against us, but they're very earnest in being against us and they're very sincere, like I go down to Ground Zero and I work with a lot of the We Are Changers who really sincerely feel I am doing the wrong thing by bringing out this TV fakery, either because they don't believe it or because secretly they do believe it but think that it's not enough, or people can't handle it, it's too much. But I'm always interested in the very difficult areas to heal, and that would be sexual abuse, cancer, and so on, in which case sometimes the medicine temporarily is a little bit bitter. But I really like what this guy says. I thought it was very intelligent.
Absolutely. I think she's way outside of her bounds, despite her tantra and mantra.
Yeah, I'm not sure what her bounds are.
Now, as far as talking about my bounds, this is the same thing that my father said. When I was dancing around in pure joy in front of the camera, it was just sort of a spoof and an experiment. It was that I was just so delighted that my body was transforming. I hadn't even noticed. And it truly was about a sharing in joy. Now, my father has been losing sleep because he's thinking, my God, how do you support yourself? Are you being a prostitute? And I said, Daddy, I'm never going to do that. And, you know, I tried to calm him down. I said, really, Daddy, really, there are donors, and I'm going to be at the National Arts Club. So, but it was really nice that I got to have that. If nothing else, the Howard Stern show, you know, set up some controversy that I could go and take that energy and go to a deeper level with my dad, because he's not in pain anymore. But I'm feeling he wants to start chemo again, and I don't think anybody's lasted as long as my dad has on chemo. And I'm trying to say that PSA test didn't mean anything, and I will stand by that. Of course, you don't have to, obviously, I hope you don't take my advice. I don't pretend to be a doctor. I don't pretend to be giving advice. I'm just saying I have talked to people, and I will do more research on Lupron. The pharmaceutical countries, the same malfeasance that you see with the World Trade Center, and they were rightly so picking up some similarities with the Holocaust, with the moon landing. I didn't want to answer those questions there, but I'm feeling safer here, and I'm feeling if I can start to get a connection with people who really, really want this knowledge. Either there's a deep sexual abuse issue running in the family, or there is some cancer, and you know they want to avail themselves to more traditional approaches, because not every therapy involves something you can make money off of. You know, the radiation, the drugs, the MRI, all of that. And even in the case of the drugs, 60% of the drugs are still based on natural plants. So when I was in India going to Ayurvedic conferences or holistic conferences, there's a great concern that the landside is being ravished for very important herbs that are necessary even in the pharmaceutical base formulas. So the only credential that I have is my body. And that was at that point that I did that, Dance of Joy. And then I was so blessed and fortunate to have a genius editor like Steve Nichols. And even what they did on Howard Stern for the trailer, God bless you all you guys who worked on that to make it really jazzy and compelling, it still didn't have the heart of what Steve did. And it was what Steve did that just made me want to change the name of my show. I mean, talk about total penetration of an artist. He said total penetration would be explained on May 19th, and I was sad that in the show, because, trying to herd cats or dealing with these thoroughbreds, particularly Nico Hitler, but even Rhinary economics, he had done very important research too. They were so eager to tell their information that I thought to just sort of let it roll. I'm hoping to have a little space on the 23rd where I could explain the sexual symbolism behind the television fakery that was done. But again, I couldn't be more pleased with these comments.
So I can't figure that she's outside of them.
No, it was very interesting to see how everyone was a bit besides themselves this morning.
It's like John said earlier.
I don't know what they mean by a bit besides themselves, but we'll see.
It's a hot button, especially for us, because we were all there that day, and we're pretty sure we know what happened. But maybe I'm in the majority who's not smart enough to realize what she knows.
Or you're believing just what you saw on TV.
Right. I'm a lemming.
Well, as an engineer, it's hard for me to digest some of the things that she wants to talk about because it's...
As an engineer, it's pretty hard to digest. Now, that's really interesting. I'm wondering if this engineer would come on a show and we can start to look at it less emotionally and also less involved with social consensus. Everybody talks about being, on the forefront of a shifting paradigm. But the truth of the matter is, it's a little scary, a little lonely. You can't be called anything but crazy if that's where you want to go. But that, to me, is what the demonstration of the resurrection was. And after it was pulled off, then the rest of the society can have a model of something really big to shoot for. And the resurrection is not just something Christian. I went up to the library, checked out an encyclopedia of Judaism, and it talks about the Lutz bone, which sits at the base of the spine, and that's why Jews are not cremated, because during cremation you may disturb that bone. And that is the one bone that's necessary for the body to be reconstructed. So isn't it interesting when you start to see modern science, the very forefront of modern science with genetics and longevity and so on, that it starts to look pretty similar to the science in the great religions of the past, providing you can get through the co-opted information. So let's carry on.
I don't think she has any clue to things associated with metals and momentum and all the things that remain.
Right.
How about this for metals and momentum? How do you dustify a building in 11 seconds? Momentum.
Plane crash.
When she said that, how could a plane go into a building, the plane would have buckled? How does she? Then we all take that as if that's common knowledge, but who the hell is she? She's not an engineer.
No, I'm just talking about crash physics. When two bodies hit each other, they crumple and crash. And if a fly hits the windshield, guess which one is more fragile? It's the fly. Even though the moment of impact is the same, the windshield will prevail. And the World Trade Center.
Why am I taking her word on that?
Apparently you guys didn't see the Lemite at Burning Man.
Yeah, what was Burning Man? Does anybody know what that is?
It's a big,
is that like
big
Roswell?
yearly festival where they make a giant effigy of a guy, like feet high.
Oh, let me tell you about Burning Man, because I've been there a couple times. I think Alan and I were the only people that weren't taking drugs at Burning Man. Burning Man started when a man's wife left him, and he was in San Francisco, and he went to the beach in San Francisco and built an effigy of the lover, the guy that ran off with his wife. And then, he invited some friends, and then they burned the man. And so what happened was eventually the San Francisco police said there's too many people collecting on the beach and you don't have fire permits or whatever. And so begrudgingly, they went to the desert in Nevada, and that's what became the beginning of Burning Man. So, and then it also harkens back to ancient times where they would have the scapegoats. And some of you faithful viewers from a long time will know that I talk about the pharmakos. Pharmakos were ill-fated souls that were kept at state expense to be sacrificed on a regular basis, and you still see this mechanism running in society today. The better you can face this mechanism and understand it, the more you can transcend it. Now, pharmakos also, it's a Greek word. It means that which heals and that which poisons. So there is a reason that chemotherapy would work. There's a type of wearing of the hair shirt, of purging, of feeling guilty and getting rid of that. So the pharmakos could be, you think of poor people, like I'm very concerned about the child care system today. That's not, the court system is corrupt. It's separating perfectly good parents from children who are then put in pedophile rings. So you would say the pharmakos in that case would be the poor children who can't protect themselves. But a pharmakos can also go up to the top, where you've got Oedipus, where he unknowingly marries his mother. And as a result, there's plague in the kingdom until they consult the oracle and work it out. And he, pulls his eyes out. He doesn't neutralize that. But the idea of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth is a process of Shakti, of sacrifice, a path of sacrifice. To get something, you have to give something. And so when you are approaching something that you want to get, you have to bring something to it. And that is the principle, or probably the reason that Jean Klein, one of my greatest teachers, said that the answer lies in the question. So the question can be articulated by 5 different people, and a master will know which one is ready for the answer to that question, that once they get it, they'll run with it. So when you ask about the Holocaust, what will you do with the knowledge if you get clearer knowledge than what mainstream media gives? And that's why I hesitate to go into it, but I will. But I need more than I'm capable of giving for that question. And so one place I will seek some assistance with is Gisela Weishaus, and she was the first plaintiff. She wasn't the first victim of the Holocaust. At 14 years old, she was in Auschwitz. And I've told that story elsewhere, so I won't belabor the point here. But I'm definitely going to try to work with her, because I also saw Howard Stern's eyes when that got brought up. And he was sincere about that question. I mean, he wants to know, and he's also deeply disturbed. Now, the pharmakos mechanism, to get something, you have to give something. There's a beautiful book called Violence and the Sacred, and there's one chapter called Totem and Taboo, talking about how Sigmund Freud was almost there but couldn't quite get his head around it, and even Greek tragedy almost got up to it, but couldn't quite understand this mechanism of sacrifice, and because it's just so horrific. And because of that, psychoanalysis is doomed. It's going to go endlessly until it faces this part. So I'm going to carry on with this wrap-up.
Hundreds of
Stories high.
Stories high, yeah. And they burn it. And it's supposed to be, it's like real fun. It's like camp for older people.
But what's the significance of burning an effigy of a man?
It's just a big, giant festival.
I think it's for people to go out there and just release themselves from everything in society. Like a lot of working people that work in big companies, I hear they make trips out there to kind of decompress.
I know Ralph's been to Burning Man.
It's like a Star Trek convention, but sort of hippie-ish.
Oh, Ralph, if you're out there, call in and tell me what Burning Man's all about.
Doctor?
Oh, it's not hippie-ish, believe me. They do the things with the piercings. We had one guy, Alan and I went around with the camera, and I was interviewing, and one guy had pierced his penis. And Alan, of course, was riveted on the penis, and I was talking to him, and at one point I said, "Why did you do this?" And he was about ready to burst into tears, but by that time, Alan, focusing, I guess, on the penis, he'd sort of, he's a little ADD. He was distracted and looking for the next thing to film. And he didn't catch it. And I said, "Oh, Alan," he was just ready to burst into tears about why he did it. But Burning Man is sort of more a techno thing, and it's definitely not a rainbow pot gathering. The drug of choice seemed to have been ecstasy.
G, you're on the wrap-up show.
Hello?
Hello?
Dr. G.
Hi, am I on?
You're on, Dr. G.
Hi, so I just wanted to talk about the Paula and what you were saying about the conspiracy theorists.
Okay.
I've watched the whole, hours of it, and I'm very educated. I have an MD, I have an MPH, so I'm not someone who's easily swayed by, and I'm not completely convinced. But they do have a few interesting points, and what they say about the planes is not that the planes didn't crash into the building or that it's a computer-generated image, but that Never in history has a building collapsed from a plane. Never.
By the way, that is what I was saying, that no airplanes went into the building. Now, what she's talking about is the hangout theory, the hangout conspiracy. Some people say, yes, there was TV fakery, but airplanes still went in there. This is not the case. She was wrong on that.
There's big buildings that have been hit by planes, and this is the first one that actually caused it to implode. And that the likelihood of the heat generated from a plane crashing into the building and causing all of the scaffolding to fold is just almost impossible. So that's
okay. I can address that in a little bit that I know. Has a plane the size of the one that crashed into the World Trade Center ever crashed into a building? A plane that size, a 747.
At the speed it was
At
going.
the speed it was with a full tank of fuel, which then spread through the whole floor.
I know
First of all, how did it have a
Empire State
full
Building was
tank
hit,
of
but I don't know if
fuel?
that was a small.
Hold on a second, Benji. How did they have a fuel tank of fuel? They just took off from JFK and they went about 4 miles.
Boston.
Well, one was from Boston.
Incidentally, this is something that may come up at the National Arts Club. I'm not sure if the video mashup creationists want to go into the details there. Nico Haupt and others certainly are capable of it, but one of the flights didn't even exist. So that's something to think about.
But I mean, they sought out flights that were going across the country because they knew they'd have full tanks of fuel. So that's how it had a full tank of fuel.
So he's talking about pretty much the official story or how it came down through the media. But think about it. If one of the flights didn't even exist and you're creating through your good PR a hangout position saying that there were stand-down orders from Cheney, saying do the orders still stand and so on, and that's why the air traffic controllers didn't respond. Well, how could the air traffic controllers respond to airplanes that were not off course? So getting back to the Pharmakos thing about the scapegoats, I'm very hesitant ever to get into blame modes. I mean, at least if I have the capacity of consciousness and less emotionalism. Sometimes, I get really upset with people I live with and certainly get into my share of blame. But when I reflect on it, it's not strategic connections of empathy that I'm creating. That's a little more transgression and it has another benefit to it. But isn't it a dreadful thing if you're going to be punishing the wrong people? Wouldn't it be dreadful for the Jews that died in the concentration camps that there was ever a hangout theory that instead, that to distract away from who was really causing the problem, which according to Nico Haupt's theory seems to be IBM and, they were testing out their carding system to keep track of people. And even here at the National History Museum, they were pushing eugenics. In many ways, the headquarters of the Nazi Party was here in New York. If you look at the ideology, there was great admiration for Ford. So it's very important, even if you're into punishment and blame, to do enough homework so you know exactly, make sure you're blaming the right person. I want to find the right person because I want to get into forgiveness that will be beneficial. And to me, what will be beneficial is when we get more capital ownership into the hands of more people. And that's why I said the $5 million that I made, even more was made by another truck driver. And they were citing that as an example to close up the loophole, because they said, if even a truck driver is getting to be a millionaire, there's something must be wrong with the system. I'm saying, yes, you're on the right track if more people are empowered with the enormous wealth that exists. And we wouldn't even be having the fuel crisis and the war for oil, if we had zero-point energy. And this was something that was killed by Stephen Jones, again, another war criminal and leader in the 9/11 Truth Movement. I'm hoping that Les Jameson will not be upset, but on my show, this is not what I'm going to be talking about down at St. Mark's. I'm strictly going to talk about nonviolent communication. But there does come a certain point for those that want to research what happened and why are we in the war that we're in, that we understand what are the resources available. And we are moving with technological advances. The science is there that can liberate us from dependency on oil. So anything that thwarts this, I say, and takes people into war, I say is something that definitely needs to be investigated and come out with a beneficial position. So, you're moving forward and you're getting people richer.
Okay, I'm not sure about whether a plane the size of that has ever crashed into to a building, but the buildings that the planes have crashed into before were not the size of the World Trade Center, so they're proportional.
Well, but you just made that up. You don't know that for a fact.
No, I'm not.
Well, one thing for a fact is even the gash that was made is shorter than that airplane, the 747. So some people can say, well, the wings sort of folded back in on themselves, but other people are saying that it sort of pierced and penetrated. Anyway.
I'll tell you for a fact that the planes have crashed into buildings in the history of the
Right,
world.
Do you believe that the planes crashed into the towers and they went down?
Absolutely. The planes crashed into the towers. I don't know if they were the cause of the buildings to fall.
Now this lady, you can see that she is a doctor. She's rather composed, considering. Most people that are in this hangout position about the planes and the controlled demolition and so on, because the knowledge is incomplete, aren't usually as in command as she is.
Okay.
Then what would be the cause?
Well, if you look at the tapes, there are multiple explosions below the levels
So she's saying it's explosions.
of the planes crashing. You see actual ignition and way down, like lower than where the planes hit. There are people who have heard other explosions, witnesses to the things. There's a lot out there that doesn't make sense. What happened to the building that collapsed that nothing even hit? I think it's called like Building 6.
Now, she's talking about there's a lot out there that doesn't make sense. So it's important not to load yourself up with a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense until you can get to a place of simple things that start to make sense for you, until you can make a connection really essentially to yourself and the meaning of life and how you participate in all of this. It's like loading a student up with scads of mantras that have different effects, as opposed to really understanding how to master the mantra. Jean Klein, one of my great teachers, said that the magic of the mantra takes a lifetime to understand, and chances are you won't, so don't. So he was talking about that hypnotizing effect of transcendental meditation, which later on another guru indicated when I was so concerned about sexual abuse. He said, what about religious abuse? When after decades you're still doing the same practice that's essentially being done just for relaxation, instead of understanding that there's a great work to be done to know what our purpose is here on the planet and to be able to love with the power of God. And that takes more energy.
No, nothing hit it. Why did it fall? There was nothing even near it to make it fall.
Just those two giant towers that fell.
The two biggest buildings in...
So, essentially when you hear that, language getting all worked up, that is starting to hemorrhage away the energy that you need to find that golden thread and stay faithful to it, that will eventually take you to self-knowledge.
The entire nation, and close to the two biggest buildings in the world, fell right next to it. I'm sure the vibration and the heat and all that stuff had nothing to do with what...
Only one building, Gary? Only one building was affected by those vibrations? Why didn't it set up a multiple chain reaction? Why did one building with all this, government, I think the FBI stuff,
See, here she's been very well educated, and she's smart, and she sees, it's not possible for airplanes to do this, but she hasn't been given all the knowledge, or she's been, with loose change, she's been in these hangout places, and that's why she knows it's not right, the official story, but she can't take people to completion. And this is why when you embark on a spiritual practice, you want to find a master, somebody who knows the whole distance. And that's why the miracles are demonstrated, because that's like putting your money where your mouth is. And a student has every right to ask for evidence that the knowledge is there. And after he has that evidence, then the heart opens and the surrender happens. I won't even go into transcendental meditation now and why. I think I've done it in other places, but why that could lead to religious abuse.
I watched it in a while, but there was very important documentations in the third building that fell.
Well, supposedly that other building was shaky to begin with. Right. That's what I had heard. But look, we can go back and forth.
Shaky to begin with?
Yeah, I heard no.
See, these guys that are talking it over, they're kind of maintaining their cool here, and I think they know how to pace themselves. They have a good understanding of their own, energy reserves. And, what I'm always telling Nico and a lot of the people who become very discouraged with the real evidence being accepted, people are judged by what they promote. So if it looks like it's a tough lifestyle, like a lot of people maybe like the idea of being an artist, but when you look at the life of many artists throughout the ages, would you, if you had the opportunity, really want to go there, even if you'd be remembered for, well into the future, well after your death?
Oh, I'm serious. Benji, wasn't it like in slightly in disrepair before any of this
Well, if I
happened?
just ask Dr. G, are you in New York City?
I am.
What kind of doctor are you, Dr. G?
I'm a general surgeon.
Oh, so you're a genuine doctor.
Absolutely.
See, I don't. By the way, I don't buy into a word that you say, but I don't think that people who buy into what you're talking about are necessarily.
Now, it's interesting when he says, I don't buy into what you're saying. It'd be interesting to know what exactly he doesn't buy into and why. Because Nico Haupt also doesn't buy into this. And the screw-loose change people, who, seem to be sort of the redneck crowd, they don't buy into it either. Although they don't put on the table what they think did do it. So, sometimes you have strange bedfellows in this weaving back and forth and alignments.
Not smart and bright people.
Agreed.
I think.
I just said that
I
because
think
you wouldn't think I was a crackpot.
No, I don't think I don't think you're stupid. I think that there's a personality trait for certain people to need to believe something else, but I don't think it has to do with smart and stupid.
Well, I would like, this is all I'm saying, is before you say anything, watch Loose Change, and then just say if you, in your personality trait versus my personality trait, thinks that they have any valid points, anything that makes you think, like, this is a little uncertain. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I believe it or don't believe it.
I watched Loose Change because my kid made me watch it, and my personality trait says I don't buy it.
Because
None of it, guys?
None of it.
Yeah, Ben.
Okay.
I was just, Dr. G?
And that's okay to me that he doesn't buy any of it. In some ways, you're better off with somebody who is keeping their energies aligned with the social consensus until such a time that soul says, now is the time to move out into another direction. There's wisdom to that.
Yes.
If you'd like, I'm a member of an organization called Still Standing, where if you go down to the site, the World Trade Center is still there. And if you're not a member, a victim of mass hypnosis, you will see that it is still standing.
Is this Benji?
Yes.
Of course it is.
Okay, wait. Say that. So I've been to the site, and I didn't see it, but you're saying if I was under mass hypnosis, I
No,
would...
you are. If you're not seeing it, you're part of the.
Isn't that interesting? She's approaching this like a good doctor. And this is sort of revealing of her training, and this is oftentimes when Nico Haupt talks about me as a mind control victim, because, I'm not hiding all of the different cults I've been involved with. But she's actually, from whatever's happened in the past, is giving attention to something that others would just bump off straight away, which I find very interesting.
Mass hypnosis that the masses are under where they don't see the buildings. The buildings are still there. If you look at a subway map, they still say World Trade Center.
Well, we're very slow here in New York to change anything, so I can't base it on the subway maps, but that's an interesting thought. That one I'm a little more skeptical of.
All right.
Yeah, but she gives it a lot of space, which shows kind of the innocence of her character. I find that
I'd like to
delightful.
take you down to the site sometime.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
G,
you.
for enlightening us on those theories. That pisses me off.
I don't know. I just feel that there's people that have a need to not believe authority, and I think that's where that comes from. Like, she's a surgeon, and I'm not saying she's.
I just want to remind you, I did not believe the authority of Forbes magazine and the Wall Street Journal. And again, I'll create the links on paulagloria.com to give evidence of this. In other words, if I did believe them, I never would have done what I did with the cellular telephone licenses, nor would I have the enthusiasm to move forward with binary economics, because that was a clear example.
She's not a smart person. She clearly went through school, but I think people have they feel the need to not buy into authority and will look at any crack that they can find.
Just imagine being scheduled for heart surgery and later today, and you're having to be listening to the show and everything.
Like if they were just about to cut you open and she said, by the way, I don't believe the World Trade Center is hit by a plane, I'd be like, next, please.
Right. Ralph Sorella, didn't you go to Burning Man?
Well, wait a second. I believe that she is extremely, extremely stupid. That is such a ridiculous theory. I mean, this is a country we can't even get roads paved, and we're gonna choreograph this incredible thing for the plane to hit and explode.
Yeah, now see, that fellow is very interesting, because the people that I went on total penetration with do not believe that the government did it, so that it was done with a very sophisticated outside job. So what he may be commenting on is the doctor that was commenting on loose change. He straight away sees that there's flaws in that.
Another explosion.
Right. If we were that good at what everyone thinks we did, then we should be in and out of Iraq already.
It's so dumb. I mean,
Exactly.
I was watching it. I could feel it across the river. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, wait. What she's saying is, what you felt was real because there was an explosion. It just wasn't caused by those two planes.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so dumb and insulting to everybody on so many levels.
Why did your building go down, Ralph? I mean, based on that, you know what I mean? It just drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole city of Manhattan was.
But you see, this fellow who felt the explosions and says, of course it happened. You would then have to defer to the experts, and I know because one of my loyal viewers on YouTube, his father teaches engineering. He's actually a well-born Brahmin, and he said that he would never go against his educational institution to start talking about that. But an airplane wouldn't cause the type of explosion and reverberation that was felt.
Supposed to go down because building number 7 went down. It's so, and all these people have time to do is like examine tape. Just fucking accept it.
Now, Ralph, you make good use of your spare time. Did you go to Burning Man?
You know, I never have. I almost went last year. A bunch of people were going, but it's just horrible. It's in the middle of the desert. You have to bring everything with you. And, you know, I didn't hear that woman this morning, but she's high. I mean, people who go there are just pretty much drug addicts. Not addicts, but like, you know, you just get high for like 3 or 4 days, and then everybody sort of at the end of Burning Man, there's this giant wooden thing. It's like 50 feet high, in the shape of a man or whatever, and they light it on fire and burn it. And it's like supposed to be cathartic, and you know, it's like primal and this kind of thing. But you know what was really funny in Burning Man this year? Like 2 days before.
I heard about this. Yeah.
2 days before they were supposed to light it on fire. Some douchebag lit it on fire.
Some pranksters or something.
And he got arrested. I'm like, well, how do you get arrested 2 days before?
Right.
Like on Sunday it's okay, but on Friday, no, you're getting arrested.
What made you decide not to go?
Because I didn't want to be fucking trapped out there, you know. And you got to bring everything out with you. And
who are you going to go with?
Some people, you know, just some friends. Some friends out in L.A.
Anybody we know?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm guessing at who it is, and I'm laughing my ass off.
Yeah, I can't say who went, but he's like, that's a great fucking story. It's not remind me to tell you what that. Right. But yeah, it's just, you know, I mean, if you're talking to somebody who's got a theory who went to Burning Man, they were probably high when they created this theory.
Right. Hey, on a different subject, confirm or deny?
I just want to say that what I brought up was that Burning Man was an ideal location to do a demonstration for thermite. So for those who are trying to explain how the World Trade Center came down with controlled demolition, you would, a lab experiment is very important. So I'll go on to the next one, but while I do in between, I want to say that we're going to be at the National Arts Club, and here's their website and the events calendar, and it says, at 6 p.m., Paula Gloria hosts a special benefit for the Concordia Foundation and discussion, What is Internet Mashup Art? So be sure to join us there. And let's go back and hear the next part of the wrap-up, which would be number 3. That'll be this one.
What about me speaking as according to your plan for tomorrow?
You want to speak?
Yeah.
Okay. You need to get a mic then. And you need to get the camera.
Go ahead, Swish.
Yeah.
Hang on just a second.
Yeah, Paul, Gloria, and
Nico Haupt is going to talk to us.
It's Nico Haupt. Oh, is that too...
I have to get a camera on you, right?
Well, it's too short.
Yeah. Well, fiddle around with it while
Well, I need my monitor, man.
You need your what?
I need my monitor. I cannot read my stuff.
Then look at your monitor.
Yeah, how? It's too short.
Here, let me stop the cameras
No.
now.
Well, is it introducing already?
Yeah. Nico Haupt is now going to talk about...
Well, different things. So, yeah, very interesting things going on behind the scenes. And as you know, Alex Jones was whining about us and Paula Gloria speaking at the Howard Stern show. And so I put whining in brackets because for sure it's just an act. He's still kind of brainwashed or manipulated by Scientology and Tavistock. So first, he promotes to boycott Sirius, but then he's basically sending a spy, Jesse Ventura, over there to do damage control. And well, the interesting part is Jesse Ventura was actually not hugging much planes, but did the thermite hugging. That was kind of interesting, and I call him a spy because basically he did it probably also on behalf of whatever, the people who run the perp show. But interestingly also, Alex Jones re-promotes that event, so he's a hypocrite. First, he's claiming the Truthling should all boycott the Sirius network, and then he re-promotes basically the very same network after Jesse Ventura is on Howard Stern. So what is he doing? That's old school hypocrisy, but also basically ignores what he said 2 days earlier. Everything's available on MP3 and videos. Interestingly, also said Howard Stern basically give a fuck about that event or the fans, because they didn't re-promote that event from Jesse Ventura. They obviously still like us, which is fun, but Paula just decided not to go to Howard Stern. I would go there. I don't think it's prostitution. I have no problem with the fans. I like them. I was a little disappointed they were not that rough, so the staff should work on the scam prank calls. They were not rough enough. There was no sex involved. I couldn't talk about my New York Post stuff. I think Paul did a great job. I like everyone, including Alan Steinfeld. Even if I personally think he's a saboteur, he's comedy, so that's fun. I love the show. I would do go back again on Howard Stern, because after all it's still PR. I would not go for a third and fourth time without money. So if they offer me an own show, I would do it. I would still bring my own stuff back. I don't like to do the Britney Spears thing. I like to do the DJ thing. I think we're doing DJ culture. I will speak out at the National Arts Club about bionic art, which is much more fascinating than the so-called convention art, or the middle thing, which is the video creationism. I think A.Q. Al-Qaeda is right now leading video creationalist. It doesn't matter, he doesn't have to produce the videos, he's part of it. So he's a video artist in that context. So I don't like that word art. I still think it's an insult. But the establishment needs this kind of label to promote their bullshit. So I like that. I think on Saturday, even if it flops, we will do some groundbreaking things again. We will declare basically us then as artists, not to selling off the establishment, just because they need that label. Then I have also some other interesting blog lines. As I said, I like Ernst Steinfeld in the context of comedy. So I'm a little bit confused that he's now bailing out of the very same event. According to Paula Gloria, he first promised to pay $500, and now he's withdrawing this very same dollar amount. This is not to beg for the audience to spend us. I actually still want to go there for free. Just right now Ernst Steinfeld baits out, so that's very interesting. We basically fucked. If we do minus, Paula has to pay $500. So whoever comes up now will save that. Also, thanks so much for Sorrow Helps and the porn. It was great. He donated $200, which is great. I should not mention the amount number. I feel very happy about it. It's not so much about the money, actually, just because we had actually a situation. He thought I'm disrespecting Paul. I told him there's some kind of co-abuse here going on. That's part of our concept. I try to challenge.
That's part of your concept.
Well, basically, I just point out that I have no privacy
abuse.
here, and so I could not create my videos, and they suck. So I would like to spend the $200 for Al Duffy, aka A.Q. Al-Qaeda. I would like to give him $100 off the $200, or if the bookings are right, $70 off because I owe Paula $30.
You owe me $30.
I hope that's
you
fine with
$70.
everyone. Right, as I said, I think Al needs $100 for a lot of stuff to organize the event, for his own art. He needs new paintings and all the stuff, paints or whatever. So he should get $100, at least $70. And so, yeah, and transportation costs. He has his main stuff still in New Jersey. Okay, what else we have? Well, also Jesse Ventura, interestingly, did not promote Nylon Truth on Larry King yesterday, so we see that what kind of character he is. And that's basically it. And if it's true that John Field spoke out against We Are Change, Loose Change in the Name Trusa. That would be also interesting fact. I'm not 100% sure. I'm a little bit embarrassed. I blocklined this maybe too fast. There's a new video out, an audio out on Troy, Ku Kloons. And I made some voice comparison. I'm not sure if it's really John Field. But if it's John Field, it would be interesting news. So John Field actually declares We Are Change, Loose Change as a conspiracy theorist, and so he supports the official story, and he says he will never speak out on controlled demolition. He thinks that's not true. Okay, so I repeat again the main block lines. Jesse Ventura tries plane hugger damage control on Howard Stern after Alex Jones whines about no planar PR on Howard Stern, Paula Gloria. Howard Stern, now a Nico Hitler fan. I think maybe he is because we are just fun. Rick Siegel has the best analysis. Howard Stern failing, shock trying 9M frauds to boost ratings. This again the analysis on how much the audience numbers are actually rigged. I also say better 100,000 than nothing. So if they have to survive, that's their own scam. I have no problem with that. We have a recession. They have to merge with XS probably. Then 9M Air. John Field apparently speaks out against We Are Change, Loose Change, and 9M Choosers. I hope this is true. 9M Choose hero Jesse Ventura drops ball on thermal PR at Larry King. And Ernst Steinfeld bails out of 0524 National Art Club No Plan event. And I hope the next blockline is not Paula Gloria withdraw donations. Because as I said, I would like to have this $100 to L. That's it for me now. It's Nico. Nico Hitler is back, hopefully on Howard Stern. If not, he's back online. Right now my videos suck, but I work on a new symbolism video.
So there you go. You see that these artists don't ask for very much. I give them what I have, which is some floor space in my Gramercy Park apartment. Some people have criticized me. Oh, you're asking for donations so you can stay in your Gramercy Park apartment. So it's a very tricky situation. On one hand, people think you're lazy, you're a charity director, you just want money to sit around and be a charity director. On the other hand, if you go and work at a hat shop for $15 an hour, which is really double minimum wage, then they're critical too. They think you can't be a serious charity director. So I really want to thank Alden James, who is, rather taking a risk with us by inviting us into a really beautiful venue. We're going to have the Grand Gallery at the National Arts Club, 15 Gramercy Park South. And in that quiet, peaceful, dignified setting, I will be able to wear some beautiful outfit that I got in Paris, and I so hope that Robin Quivers has the courage to come down to this beautiful setting and actually watch some of these videos and see in this nice dignified place. It's going to be Memorial Day weekend, so we expect it won't be that crowded because people will be leaving town, but for those dedicated New Yorkers who stay in New York for Memorial Day, I think you're going to be very, very pleased by just how paradigm shifting this event will be. AQ Al-Qaeda is going to be talking about his art with the veterans, and I think it's important to remember them. Nico, you have?
Yeah, one more important thing. Truth Action, Truth Move, and Midnighter, aka Colonel Sparks, all together promote Paula Gloria's event about non-violent communication, St. Mark's. Very interesting. For sure they're discrediting her or mocking her.
No, they're not. It's just Les Jameson. I really struggled for that, Nico.
Well,
we have
as I said,
strategies,
the most important news is that Truth Action is actually now promoting Paula Gloria's event, which is interesting. They say if you're in New York City area, you can catch Paula this Sunday speaking at St. Mark's Church. That's Midnighter. Right now, Midnighter, which is associated with Colonel Sparks, is smashing my character by associating me with Webster Tarpley. So he claims I must be co-Intel Pro because I promoted Webster Tarpley 3 years ago. Well, in that year, Webster Tarpley was still authentic in my opinion. Then he sold to the dark side, which means he tried to compete with the Russians and sold out to Alex Jones and Naim Trusorg. So associating me over Webster Tarpley is just another PR, so I don't care about that one. Then Bruce Lee starts from responding then courtesy of Les Jameson, no surprises there. So they're using now Paula Gloria, Les Jameson connection on smearing both.
No, just a second. Les was very, very concerned about this, and he just wanted the publicity for the reinvestigation, that's all. And I said we have different strategies but it's very important that we create connections of empathy so we can work together.
Well, I personally think it's horseshit or whatever. That's Paula's event, and Les Jameson's still a war criminal, but that's just as the last news from truesection.org.
Well, it's an interesting question. How do you deal with war criminals? Say that you try them, you indict them, you put them in jail. Then what do you do? Since I've been in San Quentin prison, I've actually had the experience of working with people who are in prison. And I must say, vibration-wise,
right, you
they're
should
not the worst
work with
people.
Les once he's in jail.
Well,
That's enough for me. I just gave out that information. Thanks so
Anyway,
much,
like I
True Section, for
say,
promoting Paula Gloria.
we all have different strategies, and join us at the National Arts Club this Friday, the 23rd, at 6 o'clock, 15 Gramercy Park South. So that's it for the stream. Over and out.